Hey y'all, it's Farley with Writer's Edge. Today I want to have a chat about the pelvis. The pelvis is one of my favorite things to talk about because it is the place where everything happens when riding a horse, right? It's your connection to your upper body and your lower body. It's where you communicate with your horse. Very flawless, quiet riders communicate a lot more, in my opinion, through their pelvis and their body than they do through their hands. Of course, we're talking about horsemanship from a little bit of a different model of biomechanics and a health and wellness standpoint, but it doesn't matter. We're getting to the same spot, and horsemanship is horsemanship. Good horsemanship, no matter what event you do, is good horsemanship. So I was sitting the other day at a family rodeo and watching the riders warm up. I was actually in the middle of the pen watching everybody warm up. And it's a great place as this little family rodeo is for all levels of riders to come and have a great experience. I'm so glad that this organization exists around here to give local people a nice, fun place to ride. But in that, there was a lot of novice riders. And so I'm going to kind of try to paint a picture for you of this situation. And we're going to start at this very novice level because I think you can see what's going on and then do some self-reflection and really evaluate where you are in your motor control with your pelvis. So this girl is trotting around the arena, trotting, loping, and she's wanting to slow down. She's wanting to slow down and steer and not run into people. And she tilts her pelvis forward. As she tilts her pelvis forward, her shoulders come over her pelvis. Her hands come back to her hips. So she's really pulling on that horse. And her legs go back. She has no weight in her stirrups, and so her legs go back. You've seen this before. You've seen this 100 times. Probably happened to you at one point in your life, no matter where you are on your horsemanship journey. And there's no control, right? She doesn't have a wreck. She gets steered off and headed the other direction and goes on about her day, doesn't think twice about this. However, the cute little physical therapist walking around on a rope horse thinks a lot about this situation. Because she has not had possibly a lot of horsemanship lessons, she's young, and had anybody kind of talk to her about feel and communication and things like that, her body reacts naturally to the situation. We've talked before on this podcast and in Facebook Lives about how important the pelvis is to riding, how it is the junction between the upper body and the lower body. It's a great communicator with our horses. It's where our center of mass, our center of gravity resides. That is what keeps us from falling forward or back or to the side. And our body adjusts to where that center of gravity is. So she knows, the novice rider knows her body naturally adjusts to things as if it was on the ground. She doesn't know any different. She hasn't been taught disassociation between her lower body and her upper body. She hasn't been taught how to shock absorb through her pelvis in order to give herself a more comfortable ride and to communicate better with the horse and give the horse some level of comfort. As we talked last week with Janman about the pressure points of the saddle bars, and imagine if you're not allowing your pelvis to do some shock absorbing, how that pointed weight is coming down hard onto the saddle, which is translating into the horse, and how that can be more pressure built up versus the subtle, slow, shock absorbing motions that happen that allow the saddle to just absorb the weight of the rider. Makes sense? So her body naturally keeps all the building blocks in line, right? Because for us to stand up tall against gravity, our shoulders have to be over our hips have to be over our feet. She's in this position, it's just in a diagonal with her shoulders headed forward. So there's no control of the horse. Possibly can be dangerous depending upon how far back her feet get. Her feet could get so far back and tap him in that rib cage back towards the flank, and then we could have us a dang sure rodeo. And she's giving mixed signals to this horse that even though he's an old camper, he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't want to go have this wreck up here. And it's a big heck of a mess. Now, you may be sitting there going, okay, Farrells, I'm past this novice rider stage, but I'm just giving you this picture, painting you this picture for you to now self-reflect. And how is the motion in your pelvis doing when you ride? When you ask your horse to stop, if your cue is to put more weight through your sit bones, sit down on your pockets, are you able to have that control when you sit down, whether you're sitting down to slow down to turn, sitting down to slow down to go into a sliding stop, or just a stop in general? How is that control? Conversely, how is the control to getting up over your horse, whether you are leaving a barrel? In my case, when I am leaving the box, because contrary to popular belief, and it takes a little bit of time for my motor control to come back, going forward to absorb that hit coming out of the box does not mean standing up straight. So if you tell somebody to stand up in the rope pen, their natural reaction often is to put pressure through their feet and stand straight up. The G-forces, you're not going to be able to withstand the G-forces of going from a complete standstill to leaving the box. So your pelvis, it doesn't need to go up, straight up towards the sky out of the saddle. It needs to lean forward, rock forward. So then, as you're rocking forward and using your inside legs, by the time all the forces get acted upon you and you are going at a steady state, your pelvis is up straight, your shoulders are over your pelvis, you're able to push down, power down through your feet, get your power so that you can stand up and rope. Subtle movements of the pelvis will change your riding. We go from the extreme example of the novice rider to bringing it back to the timed event end of the arena with leaving the box. Same thing with leaving a turn at a barrel. You sit down on your pockets, you absorb that turn, you rotate, you use your legs as your pelvis is rotating around the turn, and as you straighten out of that turn, you then come into what's called an anterior tilt. You're tilting your pelvis forward towards the saddle horn to leave with your horse and not hang on your horse's head, because just in the novice example, if you don't absorb that and have that disassociation through your pelvis, then you are hanging on your horse's head and trying to use that to keep yourself up. And in a highly competitive world where it just gets tougher and tougher at all levels every single day, details matter. All the dang time, details matter. So if you're sitting there going, doing some self-reflection on how my pelvis is working and moving, and it could be better. I'm not sure, um, I'm not sure what I could do without just riding more. Because as we're learning and becoming more competitive, there's a lot of things that have to be done away from the arena in order to be better in the arena, to be better faster, to do more faster. What is that song? Better, stronger, faster. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. They used it on that show, that reality show about the jockeys at Santa Anita several years ago. It's so highly competitive, and the more, when we know better, we do better. The more we learn, the more we have conversations with people who have other ideas on how to make our horses healthier, who have ideas on how to make ourselves healthier. Then we take that knowledge and apply it to our own situation. Whether we are on a cutting horse, on a barrel horse, riding a horsemanship pattern, the same principle applies across the Western discipline. It just, intensity and timing changes. That's all. Horsemanship is horsemanship is horsemanship. So, Farrells, what can I do? What can I do to see how my neuromuscular control is? Well, there's a lot of things that you can do, but foundationally, we know when we are training a horse, we have to put the foundation on them. We have to start with the basics before we get to the advanced things. I have to have hip control within my horse when I'm working him on the barrel pattern before I can start adding speed, because I need that hip to go where I ask it to for safety reasons and for speed and agility reasons. Same thing with our hips. Simply working on control is the best way to start laying that foundation to doing advanced exercises, to doing advanced core exercises. Because if you don't have the correct motor pattern in line, it doesn't matter how fancy your exercises are, it doesn't matter how long you can plank or anything else that you do, it's not going to be as optimal as it could be. An easy way to work through this, if you're driving right now, you can do this while you're driving. If you are sitting at your desk typing, you can do it there. Or you can lay down on your back and bend your knees up. And simply flatten your back. Take your hand in the small of your back right now and push your spine against it. And really kind of slump down, but only in your lower back. Don't do it in your upper back. That's called a posterior pelvic tilt. If you're still having trouble with it, think about it when you're asking your horse to stop, if you're sitting back on the pockets of your pants. And then take it and arch your back. Go move your lumbar spine, your low back, away from your hand. So imagine if you are trying to get up over your saddle to leave a barrel or to run or even leave in the box. And do that. But make sure that motion is coming from your pelvis, that you are not using your legs to move your pelvis or even your upper abdomen, your shoulders, anything like that. And do it slow and controlled. And have that movement to move only from your pelvis. If you're sitting up doing this, you'll feel a pressure difference in your sit bones. Does everybody know where their sit bones are? The bottom of your pelvis right there that you actually sit on every day. We keep this simple here at Rider's Edge. So, do that. And if you don't have a lot of control over that, it may feel like you are breaking up the cobwebs. It may feel kind of creaky. like there's a bunch of dust and cobwebs you've got to blow out in that motion. So it may not feel smooth and fluid, or it may. You may sit there and go, oh, this is no big deal. And my question to you right now would be, are you doing it slowly without hanging on momentum, without using other parts of your body? This kind of motor control requires a lot of body awareness as well. And anytime you can get more body awareness, it's better for you, it's better for your horses, it's better for your healthcare team if something goes wrong. It just leads to healthier living, in my opinion. If you're sitting there doing this exercise right now, and you're like, this is no big deal, double check it when you get home, right before you get ready for bed, or if it's raining yet again, and you're on the couch watching the Cowboy Channel. Work through that exercise with your knees bent up, laying flat on your back, and make sure that axis of movement is running straight through the middle of your pelvis, and double check it that way. That little small motion, getting control over that, is going to be one of the most foundational steps to building upon your horsemanship, building upon your riding. As we're working through that, try rotating your pelvis, taking the right side of it forward and then the left side. But again, make that motion happen through your pelvis. Don't lead with your shoulder. Don't pull with your knees forward if you're sitting up. Even if you are laying down and hook lying, make sure you're not pushing or pulling with your legs. That's the second motion that our pelvis does. And then the third motion, it looks like if you're watching a woman walk down the street in high heels, and she's really strutting, right? You see her butt moving up and down, up and down. So you are essentially picking your right side of your pelvis up towards your shoulders, and then your left side, right? Does that make sense? Right? And then left. If you're sitting there in the car, it's like you're lifting your right sit bone off the seat, and then your left. Make sure you're not pushing down through your thigh into the seat to do that. Make sure that lift is actually coming from the pelvis. If you're having trouble with that, take a deep breath. Try it again at home when you're laying down on your back. Slow and controlled. Slow and controlled is the name of the game to get that motor pattern established. Just like when we're working on teaching our horses circles or straight lines, doesn't matter, and we work on footfall pattern happening the same all the time. We work on traveling that same circle. You see small little circles made into big arenas where somebody has worked on traveling the same path all the time to help them learn that pattern of control when they're going around in a circle. Same thing here. Getting this little simple foundation down and then building upon it will help your riding and horsemanship take it to the next level. That simple. Now, when you have that control, we build upon that. We change it around and challenge it here, challenge it there, make you unstable here, make you unstable there. Because the other unique aspect of our sport is not only is our foundation through our pelvis, it is through our pelvis on an unstable surface that is moving forward or backward in space while we are trying to do something else, whether it is run around a stationary object or catch another animal that is running through space at the same time, or come to a sliding stop, or any other things that we do throughout the Western discipline. So starting that control in a controlled environment is step one. And then we challenge that control and keep adding challenges and keep building and building and building and building. Your body and your horse will thank you for getting motor control through the pelvis. Here at Rider's Edge, I work a lot on that with my clients, and I do that through a lot of different ways. I do that through consults over the phone or through FaceTime. I do that in person, and other ways like that. One cool thing that is adding this spring to Rider's Edge is that I will be having a clinic March 21st and 22nd in Guthrie, Oklahoma at Superior Therapy with Summer Terry. Coming out there, we're going to dive more into the pelvis. We're going to dive into the building blocks of biomechanics and continue to give you an understanding of your body and how that relates to your riding and how you can build upon that. And keep it at a street level, right? Keep it at a level of why farls does this benefit me to going fast? Because I'm going to agree with you, and I'm here to tell you that going fast is a lot more fun than doing pelvic tilts. But we have to do the boring things or the less fun things to be more successful at the fun things. So if you would like to join me at Guthrie on March 21st, 22nd, we would love to see you out there. To audit the clinic is free. If you have treatment, if you want to get treated or make an appointment during those 2 days, you can contact me at ridersedgetherapy@gmail.com or give me a call at 405-203-8915, and I'll be happy to book an appointment for you. And catch us on my Facebook group, Rider's Edge Fitness and Health for the Horse and Rider. As always, I appreciate you for your time and attention and moving the conversation forward. We'll continue to talk about the pelvis in all aspects of our discussions here. And for the time being, I hope you are having a fabulous week. And as always, I will see you down the road. Thank you for listening to the Rider's Edge podcast today. We appreciate your time and attention. Thank you for always helping us move the conversation forward. If you liked today's podcast, please help us keep the conversations going by subscribing to this podcast and consider leaving us a review so others can find us and join in on the conversations. You can also find more information by checking us out on our social media channels, including Facebook at Rider's Edge Therapy and Wellness, Instagram at Rider's Edge Therapy, and our website, www.ridersedgetherapy.com. It is there that you can book a consult for either you or your horse. Thank you, and as always, we will see you down the road.